Okay, let's kick it off. What's going on today? This is Shea Omasori with the Boothers podcast, and today we've got Andrew Mauldin of Boogie Booth on the line. Andrew, what's going on? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing wonderful on this great Friday. How about yourself?
I'm doing good myself, man. It is a Friday, and it is a Friday morning. I went to sleep, and I slept so heavily. I get up right at 8:58, and that's when I get your text. And I'm like, shit. I gotta go.
Cool.
But thank you for making the time, Andrew. I know we've been trying to connect for a little bit, but it's a pleasure to have you here finally.
No, I'm honored that you asked. So I'm excited to be a part of it. And looking forward to it.
So, Andrew, if you don't mind, we'll get started by letting the people know who it is that you are. You tell the people who you are and what you do.
My name's Andrew Mauldin. I'm based here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I started my Boogie Booth, my photo booth company, about 11 years ago, and so we just made 11 this year.
And how did you get started?
Man, it's a funny story. I crashed a friend's little sister's wedding 12 years ago, and it was a Friday night, and went to this little venue that I knew about. I thought I'd have some good food and drinks, and went behind and saw make a phone call and saw a photo booth behind, and was kind of curious what it was. My friend walked out, and of course we call his little sister Princess. So he's like, Princess had to have a photo booth, and it was just kind of confused. I'd never seen a photo booth at an event before, in the malls and stuff. And I was like, all right, let's try it out. And we ended up having a really good time. It was not very well done. I mean, it had just a table with no tablecloth, a wicker basket, and a handwritten note saying, please put one strip here. And they had a pirate hat and pirate sword, and that was it. And it was just very awkwardly set off in the back and in the dark, nobody around it, and we still had a blast. So it kind of course, my brain's like, ooh, this was fun. Here in New Orleans, we dress up for everything. So I already had a costume closet full of all kinds of crazy stuff. So I just kind of was like, well, I wonder if I kind of change this up, I could make this look so much better. And that's kind of how it started. The history from there.
So what was your first photo booth? Is this something you built yourself, or did you buy it?
No, I bought one. Definitely learned the hard lesson at first, but definitely need to vet out your vendors a lot more and make sure that they're legit. And I bought it from a guy. I won't get into it. A lot of people in our industry probably know who it is that has sold things over the years that have not been what he has said they were. And so I was at one of the early stages of learning that myself. And so but it was good. I mean, it got me started. It got me into the business. It got me, some experience. Learned what not to get and what to look for next ones. And so going forward, met some great vendors, knew the right questions to ask. And so ever since then, we've made great purchases, made some great relationships with the people that we purchased from, which is really key for me. And so, it started off as a little pain, but it was a good learning experience.
So you bought your first photo booth. It wasn't what you expected. Can you describe it? What was wrong with it?
It was like one of the older kind of traditional style booths where you go in, sit inside the curtain, and from the pictures online, it looked great and wonderful and nice and neat. But then when I got it, the material was just like this vinyl coroplast with like a black sticker over it, so it wasn't even like hard plastic. It had a burn hole in the side of it. All the camera and everything was all refurbished, and it wasn't anything nicely refurbished. I mean, it was junk. It was pirated breeze license. There was no instructions. There was no anything, and like half of it didn't even screw in together, and it was very odd and just not very well made. And he just basically threw it all together and probably just put some duct tape and saran wrap, put it on a pallet, and that's it.
When you got this booth and it wasn't what you expected, how was that conversation with? Well, I assume you reached out to the vendor. How did that conversation go?
Not very well. He denied it. He said, you paid for it. You should have researched it more. He said everything was legit, but it really wasn't. And, I thought maybe I was just, going a little bit overboard, and my expectations were unrealistic. But then as I've seen over the years, and actually people have gone to this guy's house, to his front door, and threatened him, I've seen over the years that it was not me. It was definitely, I was just at the beginning of it.
Is this person still actively selling products?
Yes.
Oh, geez. Oh man. Okay. Okay. All right. So I guess we won't do any outings today. But what would you give for advice for people who might so that people can avoid this particular vendor?
Call around, throw the name out there. You throw the name out there, I guarantee in 2 seconds you will have a list of people that say stay away, run, don't buy anything. Some of the stuff the guy shows looks great, and he's a one man show. It's not a company, so it's
Yeah.
not some company. Interesting fella.
Were you into photography before you got into the photo booth business?
More hobbyist. I call myself a great power shot camera guy. Super easy. Man, I love taking photos of just everything we did, and just I like catching excitement. And it was always fun being at parties and events. I always had a camera in my pocket, and I would always just take photos of just stuff, and never really did anything with them. But it was just fun to kind of reminisce, and just I like catching that moment, and it was really
Yeah.
cool. And so, you know, didn't have any other really formal experience as far as with DSLR cameras. Never heard of ISO before, aperture, nothing like that. So it was just auto. That's pretty much the extent of my camera knowledge.
So you've been in the business for so about 12 years at this point, and you've been in the photo booth business long enough that iPad photo booths weren't around when you first started.
Right.
So you had to learn how to use the DSLR and ISO and all that good stuff. How did you go about learning all that stuff at that early stage?
And I got online, YouTube, just kind of Googled it. And I talked to, being in the industry, obviously, you start meeting the photographers. And so, and when I came in, nobody was doing photo booths. So everybody was curious what I was doing. And so as I started, doing more events, I met more of the photographer vendors and became friends. And I always asked for tips. I always ask questions. And I had some friends that did photography as well, so I kind of get them to explain the triangle, ISO, aperture. Yeah, like, I just could not. I'm like, I don't. What are you triangle? What are you talking about? And so took probably about 4 or 5 years for it to actually ding, and now it's like that's so yeah.
Now it makes sense. All right.
Right.
That's pretty cool that the photographers, right, were willing to help you out. Because I feel like at least 12 years ago, around the same time when I got into it, I felt like most photographers kind of looked down at the photo booth. Like it was like what is this here? It's not even real photos. Like,
Right. And that was my biggest fear was, going in and stepping on people's toes that have been doing it for a long time and bringing this new service that people weren't sure about. So my thing was just coming in and being just very, just, I guess, what's the right word? Humble, just kind of not, trying to like, beat my chest. It was like, hey, like I really love what y'all do. I don't consider myself a professional photographer. Like kind of downplaying what I did and kind of making it like, hey, this is just more of an ancillary kind of a party favor. We're not trying to invade on that portrait photography. Kind of making that clear line with them so they know that I'm not eventually trying to take their job. To me, it was two completely different services where the high-end wedding photography is your portraits, all that stuff. When the photo booth to me was more the fun aspect, the entertainment, the party favor type stuff. I wanted to make a line between the two so that they didn't feel like I was stepping on their toes or whatnot. And I feel like it kind of worked, that they were very open to talking to me about it. And from there, they would, like, some of the photographers were great friends now.
what is your initial background since you weren't into photography? What were you into before?
Marketing. So I graduated in marketing. Thought I was going to be living in a big city in a high rise, doing all the promotions for Mercedes Benz. Ended up in the restaurant industry. Became a franchisee. Worked for a franchisor for a few years, and then ended up being a franchisee and owning my own restaurant. So I had about 5 or 6 franchises that were spread out over Louisiana and Georgia. And so kind of did that thing. Realized that really wasn't my thing. Didn't really enjoy the whole restaurant industry, so ended up switching into the medical field, and just knew a couple people in it, and they had asked me. They knew I was getting out of restaurants, and asked me if I wanted to come into the medical field, which it's not a bad field to be in. And
Dr.
so,
Mauldin?
so I was doing neurological monitoring. So I'd go into neck, back, and brain surgeries and put needles in people and shock them, and I'd make sure
Ah,
that
nice.
the doctor wasn't hitting any nerves or
Dr. Kevorkian Mauldin.
exactly. I was sure that he wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
it was cool. So it gave me a lot of sitting around time, and that's kind of when I came up when I saw that photo booth at my friend's little sister's wedding, and then kind of I had to sit around a lot for surgeries in between and before. So that's when I do my research, and that's when I bought one, and then slowly, started growing the business as a side thing while I was working the surgery.
So once you got the photo booth, how did you get your first event? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So, I was talking to some venues, and of course, yeah, there's nobody doing it. And so, when I would bring up, hey, look, I got this photo booth thing, and like they had no clue what I'm talking about. They're like, photo, like everyone, the ones in the mall. And it's like, I mean, kind of, sort of, but it's not pay. They pay one price up front, and then, it's free for everybody, and nobody understood the concept. It was just really hard. And it's kind of frustrating at first because I felt like it was just a no-brainer. Come on, this is fun, this is neat. And, so my kind of approach was I picked four venues in my local market that I would want to work with and that I had a decent relationship that I've known, either been to a wedding at before, something like that, and kind of approach them with like, look, let's find a bride or groom in the next 30 days that you think would really enjoy this type of service. I'm going to donate this one to show you what it is, and then let's see how it works, because maybe it's a flop, maybe people think it's stupid. I don't know. In my mind, I knew it was going to work. I saw what the other one did at my friend's sister's wedding, and so I picked four venues, and did the four weddings, and every one of them was, it just went off without a hitch. Everything was like, it worked great, and the venues loved it, the people loved it, and then the bookings started coming in, and so then they didn't start pouring in right away. Obviously, it took a little while, but that was the first kind of step to getting in there. And once the venue saw it, and then it kind of proved to me too that it was a viable concept, because hey, we had never done it before. I saw one that was kind of a half-assed one at another wedding that nobody was using. It was in the dark, so I wasn't sure. Hey, I wasn't sure what it was going to do, and when I did it, and you just saw the reactions on people's faces and the line that never stopped and the people raving about it. It was just just that thing in your mind where you're like, it works. Oh yeah, cool.
Jackpot.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, it gave you that confidence. And then after that, me and the venues after that were like, all right, I love it. I love it. And then they started pushing it, and then the planners started seeing it, and then it just got in at the right time and did it the right way, and it just kind of organically grew.
So you got your first event by partnering with
Correct.
that venue.
Yeah.
You did the first one for free just to check it out. And how would you say that you got your next 10 events after that? Was that through the venue still, or was that
I'd say the
elsewhere?
venue or somebody that was at that party. Somebody, every like most weddings, somebody at that wedding is getting married later on or within the next year. And so, it just, people just started calling, hey, I saw you here, or somebody at this told me about this. So it was all these referrals. And I knew a couple of the planners down here already, just family friends that I just knew they did event planning. And a couple of them were the weddings that I did were with these planners. And once they saw it, they're like, okay. Then they just started just incorporating into their package. Like, well, then now they, hey, y'all want a photo booth? Hey, look here, it's awesome. And they would talk their clients into doing it. Where at that point, I just booked it. So it was nice. It was a good little the partnership.
So that was all within your first year. So it was so doing that event, then working it, then everybody there having a great time, and then you getting referrals
Right.
all from there.
And I strategically picked who too. Like, one of the bride and groom, one of the couples, the bride was the marketing director for the House of Blues. So yeah, she was getting married, but at the same time, I knew that gave me an in to the House of Blues. And so, then it did happen. That was my first corporate client. And so she used us for their wedding, loved it. She's like, well, can you do it for the corporate side? And that's kind of how I started into the corporate. So most of the people that I targeted, when I'd work with the venues, like, show me who. I didn't want to just do some random people. Like, to me, it had to be somebody strategic, that there was something that I could get, whether it's somebody, something. And so like I said, some of these, they just worked out because it was just the right people in the right place at the right time.
So were you thinking corporate when you first started your photo booth
No, not at
business, or were
all.
you only looking at it?
I was
Yeah.
thinking of wedding.
Mm.
To me, I was working in surgery, doing well, and I'm like, man, I can do a little thing on the side, on the weekends for weddings, make maybe a grand or two, extra a month, a little side thing, and it just kept morphing into something I never thought it would become. I didn't never saw it becoming a full time, thing. I always looked at it as a side thing initially because my mind, just work. Yeah, I was in surgery, and everything was going well. I wasn't looking to get out of that, but then as it grew and got bigger, it was like, wow, okay, this is more than I thought it was.
So right now, your business is, if you had to say where 80% of your business comes from, or let's just say pre-COVID, where would you say that comes from? From the corporate side
80%.
or from social events?
We were about 70% corporate pre-COVID. 30% wedding social, and then I'd say 70% corporate, and whether that was local or traveling around the country. So obviously, COVID was a nice little hit to us. So right now, I'd say it reversed. We are 80% wedding and social at this point. With the look in the next few months, already seeing corporate starting to come back. So I'm hoping by the end of this year, it at least goes back to 50-50, or hopefully the corporate will take back over to that 60-40.
So obviously, when you jumped in your first year, that wasn't anything that you were even thinking of, right?
Right.
Didn't know that it would be where it is now. At what point did that thinking shift, and you were like, "Oh wow, this is actually more than just weddings"?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it took me a few years. At one point, that I was looking to sell my company to somebody locally and was on the verge of doing it, just burned out. And I'm like, why am I trying to do this when I'm already making this? It just doesn't make sense. But with the surgery, that wasn't what I really enjoyed doing. And it was like, yeah, it was great. It was good money, but it was more than that, man. I wanted something to drive me, that really pulled me, that I really enjoyed doing, and that just wasn't it. And so, I came to this realization that I either need to jump into it full, like really put the time into it and go after it, or I need to just move on and get out of it. And I don't know. There was something that clicked. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. Like, I'm gonna make this work. I think there's a lot of potential. I need to put more time and energy into it. And the second I did that, it just started really taking off. And then really helped when I convinced and suckered my wife into coming down here from Vegas, and who was the number one salesperson for our IT company that I eventually went to work for. And we both kind of took the company and, tripled the size of it, within a year. And, it just started skyrocketing from there. And then I'd say that fifth year is kind of when things started like opening up to, wow, this could be something big.
Okay, all right. So let's try to put some of that timeline into perspective. So in your first year of running the photo booth business, how much would you say that you were averaging, just roughly?
I'd say first year, probably around 50. It wasn't
Okay.
anything. It was respectable for then, and it's a side thing. And it still took a lot of time though, because you're doing a lot of the marketing and the sales, and then you're going to work events on the weekends, and you're working 5 days a week. It was a little tough. So and you couldn't do more than that. And so it took about a year, and in that first year is when clients started asking for a second booth, and for the same night. And I'm like, whoa, what do I do? I only got one of me. I don't know how you do this. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to get another booth. And so then, all right, in my mind, I was so hesitant because I got burned on the first booth. I'm like, all right, I got to figure out. I'm not. This is not going to happen again. And if I'm going to find somebody, I need to find someone that I can buy. Hey, all right, not just one, but I want to stay consistent and buy the same boot. And I researched a ton, looked, and I actually found Jeff Toy in Buffalo with Your City Party Booth. And I grilled him hard. He probably thought I was insane. And I told him I'm coming out to Buffalo. He's like, you're going to fly out here to look at a photo booth? Yeah. And I flew out there in the dead of winter. It was snowing. He came and picked me up. He thought I lost my mind. And we've been like, to be honest, that was the start of a great relationship. We've been best friends ever since. Great guy. I bought 5 booths from him, so it was interesting to do that.
Yeah, Jeff Toy Brothers, or Your City Photo Booth. They're a really great company. He's been in the photo booth industry for a long time as well. And actually, he's going on a vacation during PBX weekend that he didn't invite us to, Andrew. And I'm gonna assume that maybe you did get an invitation because you guys are besties, but I didn't get the invitation. So I'm gonna say we didn't get the invitation.
I'm not sure where he's
Uh,
going. He always has some nice trips, I'll tell you that. They're definitely not
yeah, oh man,
local
he's
trips.
no, not local. I don't want to put his business out there. I don't know who he's telling, but seems like he's going somewhere real nice.
And I love
Uh,
it. It's good.
so you're getting in the position where you were looking for your second booth, and this was all within your first year still
Yeah.
that you needed to
I'd
all
say
right.
towards the end of the first year, that's when people started asking for, a second booth or, trying to book a second event on a night that was already booked. And that's when I
Okay.
was kind of like, okay, well, guess got to start looking for another booth.
So that's a good problem that you were having. What other issues, other than I guess let's just say capacity issues, did you have your first year that you had to manage?
I mean, so with another booth comes another person, and the hiring then starts falling into place. People. You can't do everything yourself. So it was kind of like, all right, now I'm going to start hiring people to do this and training people to do this and not having any systems because, hey, when it's yourself, you can do whatever you want. You know what the systems are, you know what needs to happen. And ultimately, if you forget something, you're responsible for it. When you bring somebody else in, you got to train them. You have some type of program, some type of way of doing things, certain processes. When that just the realization is, I had none of that. It was just do it and just get it done. And that was very difficult to kind of start taking all those systems when you're already busy and strapped on time to start putting those systems and processes in so that you can train people to be productive, to be good at their job and cannot just expect them to just know it because I knew I didn't know it at all either. So that was a big thing of just trying to put those processes and systems in while all obviously doing everything manual. But like all my notes were handwritten in a notebook. It was there was no CRM system that I was using. So a lot of the booking process took a lot of time because it was a lot of handwritten stuff. And that was the biggest struggle for me was the time to put the right systems in, weighing like, going and working events and doing events or putting systems in and processes. And, you only got so much time in a day and a week. And so some things get left to the side, which the systems and processes did. And it was just like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. I'll just keep telling them what to do. And, I'll get them going. Then the third booth rolls around and you're like, okay, now I got to start having consistency. Like I can't just, if I don't remember what I told him, how I'm going to tell him. That's when it started getting really difficult on, all right, trying to expand and grow and train people. So that I think that was probably one of my biggest struggles was, the time and just where do you put your time into? And, it's a lot of work initially, but once you get the systems and process set up, they operate and it allows you to grow and scale and do things that you could never do manually.
So how did you implement the systems, or what type of systems did you implement at that time for training?
For training, you know what? The training I always got pushed to the side. So my first big thing that I put in was a CRM system. We use 17 hats, and that was a game changer for us. Like taking the automated email responses to, hey, are you available? And then you got to type out a manual email every single time. Now these systems automate stuff, and you can personalize stuff. You can send images, samples, and there's so much that you can do with these CRMs that it gave me so much time back, and it allowed me to train the people, allowed me to research, photo booths, research the industry, research clients, and so that to me was a huge piece of the puzzle was getting that sales system so that one, we're not missing events, we know how many we can book, where they're at, and just making sure all the logistics were sound. And putting that system in was key to being able to grow and not lose my mind.
So when you got into how did you settle on 17 hats, and why did you decide that a CRM was the first system that you wanted to implement?
It was just taking so long to respond to people. Start getting more bookings. You take so much time just responding to stuff and details. And When do you have time to go do other stuff? When do you have time for the marketing side? I'd switched from the medical field to selling IT software. So I got to see the back end of all these big global companies, and I got to see how automation worked, how they built these infrastructures to be able to have 200,000 users on here. Like, how do you have 200,000 employees? You're like, I got
Yeah.
one. And you see these huge major corporations, and it's by automation, it's the systems and processes. And so it was kind of taking those huge ideas, downplaying, and putting them into our little, circle, and it just kind of made me think. So let me see what's out there for us. And 17 Hats kind of came in at the right time. That was pretty simple, straightforward, gave you all the tools you needed,
Yeah.
and standardizing on email templates and stuff. And that, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this could be the game changer. And we put it in, and it did that and way more than I thought it would ever do. And it makes you look professional. There's no way we could ever book what we did with doing it manual.
So when you picked up, when you decided to get the CRM, you initially wanted to get the CRM just to help you manage those booking inquiries as they were coming in, right? So that you
Right.
can respond with quotes
Yeah.
and get details for the events. A lot of CRMs typically have automations. Did you take advantage of the automations?
At first, some of them, the biggest automation was just even that first response. So if someone fills out a lead, just it gets back with them with, yeah, hey, how you doing? Some type of nice generic email, and then a link, or whatever that goes to your packages. So at that point, they at least have their packages. They can see what they want, and at that point, they can respond, hey, look, do you have this package? So it just allowed me to get back with people faster. And then at that point, people started coming into the industry. You needed to respond quick. You didn't have 3 days to respond. If you wanted the business, you need to show that you were willing to work for it. So it allowed us to just get back with people a lot faster and consistently, and give them the information that they're looking for without having to ask us 10 million questions.
I know that some people kind of are very against using CRMs, and they feel it removes the personal touch to that part of the booking process. What do you think about that?
I agree. We train our people that it's not one and done. The template that you respond with needs to have some type of personalization to it, and you need to read through it. It's a starting point, but you have to give it some type of personalization. And I agree that if you're just using it and just auto responding to everyone the same exact way, yeah, I don't like that. That's why we take it where we have 90% of the information that they're asking for, and then we personalize 10% of it. My whole thing is, you're not coming to us to rent a photo booth. You're coming to us for the experience. And the experience starts from the first phone call, the first email, the first text, all the way until we send you your final gallery link and everything, and you get your scrapbook if it's a wedding. So my thing is always like, the second they respond, it can't be cold. It's got to be this warm, personal response back. They took the time to reach out to us. We need to take the time to reach back to them and show them that we care and want their business. You template out some things, but you got to personalize it at some point. You can't just have the autoresponder doing everything for you.
Can you give me an example of how you personalize that 10% of the template?
I mean, yeah, so if it's a wedding, hey, I got a wedding. We have wedding packages. So the template would have, hey, congratulations. Obviously, it knows their name because they filled out the form. So it uses the little token. And so then what we'll do is, hey, it's Mardi Gras season here. We'll add in like something about the season, or something about what's going on, or the weather, or something that shows that it's not an auto responder. That, I mean, it could be even something simple like, like sometimes it's the mother of the bride, like something saying super excited. Oh, that's a great venue that you're looking at. We love working with Laura, the venue coordinator over there. So tying in like, hey, we worked at that venue. We know the venue contact. We add in those few little aspects where, someone's reading it like, oh, we met Laura. We did the site visit. Oh, they must already work there. So then you start getting into like, the question is, are you not a legit business? It's, do they want to work with you? And it takes out everything. And I just think that it just makes it a lot more easy for the client to go with us, knowing that we care, and that we actually want their business, and We're not just cool. You're one of 100 people that hit us up.
At what point in your business would you say that you hit that you hit the six figure mark?
I'd say about 3 years, 3 years into it, because like I said, when that first 2 or 3 years, I was going up in that ups and downs. When I was about to sell my company, I remember I was at 97,000. I finished off the year. It was the January. And I'm like, man, that's a respectable number. It took a lot to get to this number here, and not having systems.
Working part time,
Right,
and you were
right,
doing it part time, basically. Okay.
exactly. So, and that's kind of where I was like, all right, what it needs more time. And then that's when kind of me and my wife kind of met, and she started coming down and kind of helping. So she's like, I love what you do. She's like, I want to be part of it. And being in IT sales and being the number one person in the company, I can't afford you. I know what you make. Like, you lost your mind. She's like, nah. She's like, I love what you do. I want to be part of it. And we worked it out, and we put the pedal to the metal from there, and it just started accelerating super fast. And once you hit that six figures, you got to kind of make that choice. Like, all right, is this a real thing? And you got to put these systems and processes in, because if not, you're just going to kind of stay there. And if you want to scale, because it jumps up really fast after that, because either your marketing's in the right place, your systems are in the right place. So you got to put all that stuff in. And we committed to putting all the CRMs, the sales process, all the different training stuff. And so that just from there excelled us. And once you start getting in with the right crowds, they start talking in between their communities. The agencies start talking, the corporate people start talking, the planners start talking, the DMC companies that you get in with. And from there, we've built some great relationships with people, and our systems have allowed us to grow.
All right. So your wife moved to New Orleans from Vegas, right? Did I
Yep.
get that right?
Being a sole owner, you're sitting in a room
Yeah.
by yourself, coming up with ideas and pitching them to yourself. And you think something's great when the rest of the world might think it's stupid, but you think something's dumb and it's really cool. So it was having somebody to a soundboard to be able to bounce ideas off of, and somebody that came from a corporate environment that knew and seen we sold these major systems to company, and she was the number one salesperson. So she knew what these systems did. And so it was
Yeah.
easy for her to get on board with what I was trying to do, because she came from that same background. And so then knowing that she's like, we have to do this, validating that the systems were needed. I mean, the CRM was such a big project for us, because it was like all the sales, it was all the invoicing, it was all the response, email responses, we tying in all the design stuff. And to be honest, she took over a lot of the design side of it, and she was never a graphic designer, but it was always something she enjoyed doing. And
Yeah.
I'm colorblind, and so me doing designs is not the most ideal situation for a
What color
company.
is my shirt, Andrew?
I have no clue.
Really? Oh, all right.
Orange or red, something like that.
Oh, yeah. All right. So it's like now I'm feeling like I'm colorblind, like yellowish, I guess. Yeah,
The
it's kind of in
issues
like the
get me.
orange
Yeah.
spectrum. Yeah. Okay.
So she came in and took over a lot of different stuff that I wasn't good at. When you start hitting when you get over above that six figures, you're getting a lot of people asking and requesting information. There's a lot of back and forth, and you only have so much time in a day. There's just no way to be able to do it all yourself. And even like to right now, I mean, we have six people in our office right now. Like, it can't even be just her and I. Like, when you start getting to those larger numbers, the six figures, the quarter million, the half millions, and plus, you have to have people, and you have to have good people. And that was key, where she was the first piece of the puzzle. And so then there's lots of other pieces on the board that need to be filled. And so she was the first main piece. And so now we're strategically piecing the rest of the puzzle together.
Is there a particular? So if you could hire for a particular role right now in your organization, what would it be for? What would you say that you need?
We actually just made a really good hire this week. We got a new salesperson coming on that we're really excited about. That was a big thing with my wife, just giving her a little. We had a girl that was here that we were going to eventually move up, and she stepped out, which ended up being that we got someone better in replace, and so
Nice.
it's going to allow us to do more core on the corporate side, the social side, the wedding side. We have a lot of great relationships with a lot of our stuff's referral, but on the corporate side, like having somebody that comes from a DMC background that knows that whole all the venues.
What's DMC for the people?
A destination management company. Microsoft flies into town. They basically plan everything from the second the plane touches down to the second it leaves. Every transportation, meal, party, ballroom, everything. They book everything. So we build relationships with them so that obviously when they have these big parties, they need entertainment. They bring us into the pad. They include us in the packages. So having somebody with that background definitely is going to be great for us.
So tell me about the future of Boogie Booth. What do you see yourself? What do you see yourself implementing in the next 10 years? Where do you see yourself going?
No, we got into the fabrication side of things right before COVID, where we started building stuff and not just doing photo booths. Where knowing that everybody's looking for something custom and unique, and if you put a photo booth in front of a backdrop, it's not really that unique to me. So I see us going more down the fabrication side, the full building sets where we're not just providing a photo booth and a backdrop. We're building interactive sets that people can, have an experience with, not just a photo. We built an elevator for Procter and Gamble to do elevator pitches in. I had a company call me and said, "Can you build an elevator? Does it need to go up or down?" Like, no, it just needs to look like an elevator on the inside and outside, allow people to walk in and give elevator pitches. So we built a full-on elevator. It looked exactly like it that people walked in. We built a custom screen monitor into the wall with lighting and with a boom mic coming down. And we customized some software and did 5-minute elevator pitches. That type of project, I see us going more down that. And obviously, we'll keep doing our standard services, but I see us doing the more custom projects like that are not everybody can do. And it kind of like separates us from the rest of the crowd, where I don't want to just be a photo booth company. I want to be some type of, I want to make experiences. We want to be experiential and tying in the custom LED neon signs, building fabricated backdrops and sets. And that's the kind of stuff I see us going into in the next 10 years.
Where did you even learn what you needed to learn to build an elevator on a set?
Had a lot of good people around me. We started fabricating our own photo booths probably about 8 years ago. So we make like a French Quarter style gas lamp photo booth. And so in the process of going through the different fabricators and people to be able to build that, you start learning how to do stuff, and you start learning like what you can and can't do. And so it kind of, my brain knowing that I have a tool that can basically make anything I want with like a CNC machine, that opens the door for so much stuff beyond a photo booth. And so now when people start asking questions, can you do this? Can you do that? It's fun to say yes. And then, we can know that we can actually build it.
It seems like that's kind of the route that photo booth companies need to evolve to once they've gone past all right, yeah, we're here to take photos. It's the next level of the next step is, all right, getting more into experiential marketing.
Right.
And, we've got to do something that not anybody can just go and show up at the photo booth expo and buy a kiosk or whatever and be able to do the exact same thing. Right. It's got to be completely different.
And it depends on who you want your clientele to be. I mean, if you want to be doing birthday parties and small little things, on the weekends, that's great. I mean, if that's what you want, that's your market. I mean, hey, have at it. It's easy. If you're looking to do something big and do something with these corporate clients, you got to do something different. You got to be unique. What's more unique than building custom sets for people that are specific to that event, that theme, that really tie into it? We want to differentiate ourselves and not just be that little photo booth company. We want to provide these experiences. And when these corporate clients come in and they have an idea, they can pitch it to us and, what do you think? And that's when we start taking all our fabrication experience, all of our photo experience, video experience, and tie it all in together to make this cool custom experience that, that the guests and their clients love and remember.
Where do you see the photo booth business in general going in the next 10 years?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. I mean, it just, I think it's going to be around. I think, obviously, if people are going to be phased out depending on pricing and whatnot. But, some people that if you're not charging enough, is it really worth your time? That after you do that for a year or two, if you make it that long, you're going to quickly learn that if you're not charging enough, it's not worth it. And when it comes down to the end of the day, that $200 to $300 an hour or per event, it doesn't pay your bills. It's a hobby, and if you want it to be a hobby, great. I look at this is my life. This is my career. This is what other people. I'm over like other people's careers are tied through this. So we have to grow. We have to be unique. We have to go beyond that standard photo booth and do something more and better.
All right, Andrew. As we end out this conversation, I want to ask you if you could start your photo booth business over and you had a budget of $10,000, how would you use it?
I would find me a good, if I was just getting started, I wouldn't go anything crazy, but I would find probably an open air photo booth that works for me, that can transport, that puts together nice and easy and is clean and it's gonna last. It can't be some cheap metal.
But would you start with a DSLR booth, or would it be an iPad booth or a
I
360?
personally would start with the DSLR booth. I think the 360s since COVID have gotten commoditized, and they're great, but I think that fad's going to run out, in the next year or so. I think people are going to do it, but I mean, to me, I don't know. I got mixed feelings on the 360, to be honest. I think the photo side of it will always be there, and it allows you to do with the 360. To me, it's a one-stop shop. It spins around and does some graphics, whatnot. With the photo booth, you can do all kinds of different stuff. I just feel like there's more opportunity to expand if you buy that open air like style booth, that you can expand and go in different directions. With 360, you're kind of, to me, you're limited to what you can do with it. And then the rest of my money would be on marketing.
Just to rebase you, you would get I'm sorry, not three. You would get a DSLR photo booth specifically, not an iPad booth.
I'm about quality. So like, again, it's about who you're going after. All right. If I'm going after small little, parties and whatnot, birthday parties, iPad booth's great. They don't care about, the quality. It's more about the fun, getting able to instant gratification. You start going into the higher end clientele, they want nice stuff. They want nice pictures. They want to know that this backdrop's not going to have stains and rips all in it. They want, a booth that's fall light hanging out, wires everywhere. So, my thing is, I want to go for that higher end clientele. The expectation is higher, but we got to deliver, and that's where I would go. I mean, fighting for the bottom is not kind of a great idea because you're going to end up losing in the end. Figure out what you do really well, and specialize in that one little thing. If it's a glam shot, like the Kardashian filter, pick that and be really, really good at it and build a service around it and start off there. There's so many people out there right now coming into it. I'd see it'd be pretty difficult to break through the relationships that people probably already have with every venue, every planner. If you're new, you got to show something different. You got to do something different. And if you're a photo booth what's different from you than the 100 other people in your market? They got to be able to remember you for something.
I want to continue asking you about this $10,000 budget, but you just said something that strikes me that I think a lot of people don't get, or it's a hard concept to really wrap your head around, which is to pick something and specialize it. Did you learn that from anywhere in particular? How did that concept come to your mind?
It just, I've seen it and I read a lot, and, I go to a lot of entrepreneur meetings and classes, and I'm in some organizations that we all kind of share stuff. And, there's a book, the Blue Ocean Strategy, that,
Yeah.
they got that ocean of red, which is blood, where all the bottom people are feeding, create that blue ocean where you're not in that feeding frenzy. You create a service that's outside of the norm, that you're not compete, like you kind of ixnay you're a competition. And if you can create that perceived value, or that service that's not like everybody else, you're different. and then people will remember you instead of the 100 people fighting over for the smaller events. And it's just something that like just going through and talking with people like yourself and people that have been in business. And I'm a big person of always surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me. And that was always something that always stood still steady, was just make these specialize in something, be really good at it. Don't be good at everything, be good at something, and then from there, yeah, you got your other ancillary services, but be really good at something.
All right. So I'm gonna rope you back into that $10,000 budget. So $10,000 DSLR photo booth. What else would you do with that $10,000 budget to get things going?
I'd spend it on a website and a professional photography shoot, and all with my equipment. And so then I have the professional photographs, and then I have a website tied in with a CRM system that will set me up for success. Because let's be honest, when people are booking our services, 99% of people have never seen them before. They see your website. That is your storefront. That is, that's what they're looking at. So it's a perceived value. So if your perceived value looks like a homegrown website with a handmade logo that's distorted and pixelated, and yeah, but I'm getting good at that now. Practice on your own time. You know, hire somebody that's a professional that can do it for you, that looks clean. If they see a clean logo, a clean website, your booking process, you may not have done one event in your entire life, but if you got good pictures, you got a good website, and your communication is organized and complete, people are going to book you just because of they're perceiving that your value is high. You got some crappy website that half the links are broken, that looks, the pictures on it are dark, or like, why would anybody want to use you if that's the output that you're going to get? So like, I would put it into the whole marketing and making myself look like this company that's been around for a long time, or if I'm not around, saying this is what I'm going to be doing and this is what you can expect from me. So
And once you've got that all put together, how would you put marketing behind that to get it out in front of people?
again, social media. I mean, everybody's online right now. Obviously, putting money towards some type of online social media advertising, getting in with, if you're going after that wedding market, getting in with some of the wedding sites just to get your name out there. Obviously, anything you can do to enhance your rank on Google is good. Getting Google reviews, get your friends to comment on it. Do some parties and get people to review your company for you and start moving up the ticker. Go introduce yourself to every single venue, every single planner, every single anybody that you can get your name out there. And then once you and have a nice business card with a nice logo, not some logo that you drew up on a napkin and that you're working on. A lot of people, hey, you could be a great designer, but you might not be a logo designer, and it's two different things. And so handing somebody a card, and then if they go to validate what you do and they see that, wow, man, that's a nice website, but they nice pictures, nice. Okay, cool. I want to work with this person. To me, that would be it. Like, we don't advertise. We've been lucky enough. Like, we're on the knot just to be on the knot, just to get the Hall of Fame thing. But we don't advertise because we put a lot of it into our grassroots marketing, like going out there, building relationships. Relationships are key in this industry. I mean, they go really far, and so that's where we put our time. And so building those relationships, like in your own market, figure out who, go to all the meetings, to any type of industry networking event. You got to get involved somehow. You can't just expect people to work with you if they don't know you. And especially these planners, and the venues and all that, they have a reputation to uphold. And if they refer you and you bomb the event, that looks really bad on them. And if they don't know you, they're not going to refer you. And so you got to build that relationship up in the front, and then you got to do it and show what you can do, and live up to the expectation. And then from there, that's when they'll start feeling okay, they're good, and start sending you some more stuff. And Once you hit that point where you're consistent and you're every time you're over exceeding, you're over delivering, then at that point now they're bringing in everything. Like, okay, because you make them look good. Our thing is to make people look good, and not have to worry. Like when we walk into a venue, like it's Boogie Booth. Don't worry about them. They know what to do. Like we don't have to act like we're self sufficient. We know where to go. That's why people like to work, because we're not going to ask for stuff. We're not going to bother people. We know what to do. We're not going to, yeah, we're all always on point.
Awesome. That is, I think that's fantastic advice, Andrew, for anybody who's just getting into the industry. I really want to thank you for showing up today, for this podcast interview and making yourself available. Would love to get you back on the next time around when things are picking back up a little bit more for everybody. I'm actually going to be traveling, so be on the lookout. I'm going to be hitting you up. Actually, I sent you. I sent you a message recently about it.
We'll figure out.
Yeah, so I'm going to be crashing your party in NOLA sometime soon. So be on the lookout.
Cool. Let's do it for sure.